Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the hit, it's time for...
Succotash.
Yes, Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And also interviews with comedians, comedian soundcasters, and other showbiz folk. And now, here's your host, internationally recognized Comedy Soundcast Soundcaster, Marc Hershon.
Thank you, Bill Heywatt, our most excellent booth announcer, and hello to you, listener. As previously indicated, I am Marc Hershon, your soundcast sommelier, for episode 278 of Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast. For the uninitiated, here's the deal. Most of the time on this show, we feature clips from comedy soundcasts harvested from all over the internet, and we tell you where to find them. Occasionally, however, we'll have a chat with a comedy soundcaster or some other showbiz-related folks, and that's what I have for you today, a visit with an old friend of mine and a funny new voice in the world of animation, Peter Kim. Before I get into his bona fides and our conversation, I wanted to see if you caught our last show, Epi277, with the co-host I share this feed with, Tyson. We called it 2 Nights and a Bite, and Tyson featured clips from Half Hour Happy Hour, Ladies Night with Allison and Maud and Tom, Saturday Night Live After Party, and Anxiety Bites. If you want to check that show out, it's available everywhere fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and our own home site at succotashshow.com. You can visit that home site and check out the blog entry that accompanies each and every episode of Succotash in order to find links to the show we feature, as well as to the social media feeds of the hosts and guests of many of those shows. As far as this episode's guest goes, let's set the table for Peter Kim. We cover a lot of his journey in our convo, but I first met him when he was a student at an improv comedy class I was teaching in San Francisco. He busted out and helped to start a whole new improv thing there before jumping across the country and into the scene in New York. From there, he headed for the improv homeland of Chicago, immersing himself in Second City, which was a whole experience and with a little bit of unintended adventure in itself, which we'll talk about. He also started a soundcast, the Ajuma Show, which we've featured here on Succotash before, and then he shunted to Los Angeles and started getting some parts in television. Just this month, he made his debut voicing the character of Benny Choi, a 13-year-old kid in the posh Fairfax district of LA in an Amazon Prime cartoon called, strangely enough, Fairfax. Here's the audio from the trailer for Fairfax.
Yo, you ever with one of those boner pills, Quattro?
Nah, my boy Doris took one, and he exploded.
The block is hot.
Here we are, Dale. Fairfax Avenue.
The block is hot.
I'm Dale. What up, Dale? That outfit is normcore as hell.
Yeah. You look like if Tom Hanks to REI.
You literally just named 2 of my favorite things. Just moved here from Oregon with my family. Can I get a whoop whoop? Don't do that.
I'm coming in fast.
What's everyone waiting for?
Latrine's Thursday drop.
Totally. What's a drop? The you just say?
Did my little baby make friends?
Best friends.
So there's this kid, Benny. He's a hype beast.
This place is a fashion gold mine.
And this girl, Derica, she could legit be president.
Stop milking almonds!
And there's Truman. He's super artsy.
Fire.
When do you turn 18?
I'm 13, Miss B. Don't make me cancel you.
Good morning, Fairfax.
You going to Melody's pool party this weekend?
Guys, code red. It's an emergency.
What the hell are you doing?
I haven't talked on the phone since the 4th grade.
Hang up and text us back. Latrine's releasing the Dr. Phil box tee. I want one so bad.
Yo, we out of larges, so don't f***ing ass. Hey, step and pick for the gram right quick.
I felt this good in a minute.
You ain't gotta impress nobody.
Gang.
I'm going in, baby.
As long as you stay true to yourself, ain't nothing gonna stop you.
Night. And one for luck.
You want to come party with us?
Crank up the thirst meter.
Turn and burn!
Let's build!
Yeah. No.
That ain't it.
Nobody dabs anymore, Jesus.
I'ma just do my thing, Yo, Joaquin, can you help us out?
Been super busy with menu, art, installation.
What's your medium?
I'm gonna light myself on fire.
Whoa.
Love it. So cerebral.
So you can hear Peter as Benny Choi in there. I've watched the first couple of episodes where he is definitely one of the lead characters, and we talk about what that whole experience is like. Also, the joy of working in your PJs, which I'm enjoying right now. Stay tuned. I guess that's not a Soundcast thing. Stay there. And I'll be right back with my chat with Peter Kim right after this message from our sponsor, Henderson's Pants, which, weirdly, is not read by our announcer, Bill Heywatt, this time, but by me. I have no idea why.
Hello, friends, and happy Thanksgiving from everyone at Henderson's Pants. Rather than waiting for Black Friday and getting dunked in the middle of the shopping deluge, we've got an early treat for all your meat. If your meat of choice happens to be turkey. Introducing Henderson's new turkey trousers, just in time for the traditional holiday feast. Turkey trousers, though stylish and available in a variety of snappy fall colors, bring something else to the table that isn't as obvious to the casual observer. They're made with Henderson's patented expanding waistband, the Waist Not, Want Not, which allows you to go from svelte to stocky in a single meal, and without having to unbelt, unsnap, or unzip your pants in an uncouth manner. How, you might ask? Well, friends, the belt is built in and simply a part of the Waist Not, Want Not expanding design. Before dinner, your pants are as snug as a bug in a rug, so there's no need for a real belt to hold them up. After you stuff your face with turkey and cranberry sauce and sweet potatoes with that marshmallow stuff on top and string beans in the disgusting Jell-O mold with stuff floating in it and pumpkin pie with whipped cream, not to mention highballs and eggnog and wine, the waistband expands as you do, but always with just enough extra room so you don't feel or looked stuffed to the rafters. And after dinner, the Waist Not, Want Not has enough extra give that you can pull your Henderson's turkey trousers right up around your chin and burrow into the couch for a well-deserved nap. Originally designed for use by the Incredible Hulk, Kim Kardashian's ass, and the entire Mormon Tabernacle Choir, Henderson's turkey trousers are available wherever bedraggled-looking Santas are standing outside, ringing their bells for your spare change. That's Henderson's, makers of shin sheaths and butt cradles since 1621. And now, back to Succotash.
All right, joining me is Peter Kim, old friend of mine, not really a friend of the pod, although you know what, you are a friend of the podcast. We've played several clips from your Ajuma show on here. And so, yeah, I consider you a friend of Succotash as well as a personal friend of mine.
Absolutely.
We are catching up with you. You're in Los Angeles, yeah?
I am, yes.
Currently, you can hear Peter on Amazon Prime's new great cartoon called Fairfax. So it's a little bit like there's a little sort of flavor of Family Guy and The Simpsons and Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has this really unique twist that's, I guess you could almost say, is purely Los Angeles. There's
absolutely. Fairfax is about the district, the famed fashion district in Los Angeles, and it's definitely a very hyper localized comedy. So thank you for watching it.
I guess it helps that I spent time in LA and I'm familiar with Fairfax and some of the stuff you guys are riffing on, but you do the voice of Benny.
That's right. Benny Choi
on the show. And you're very prominently featured. You're like the first character we see in the
no one told me.
Yeah. In the pilot, in the pilot. Before we kind of get into sort of Fairfax and how you got there, just to kind of go back in history, Peter and I know each other. I think we met in 2009, right?
That's right. 2009, San Francisco.
That's right. I was teaching an improv class at the San Francisco Comedy College.
That's right.
with Sammy Wiegent. And Peter was I think you were part of our inaugural class, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it the first class?
Well, we started at like kind of the basic level and then went through a couple of different levels. And then you were in the improv group that we like formed from the graduates from the class.
Frisco. That's right.
Frisco.
Free range improv.
School and comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I forgot what the O was, but it figured itself out.
Organization, probably.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was something so new to me, and it was something that I was advised to do after taking a stand-up class at Comedy College.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, you'd be good at improv. Like, you should try improv. And I had never even, like, I think I saw Whose Line Is It Anyway? Obviously, it was a huge thing. But, like, I never saw improv before. Like, in college or, like, performed anywhere. Like, it was such a foreign world for me.
Interesting.
And you were my entree into this world.
Well, you took to it like a proverbial duck takes to water, man. I mean, you were one of the powerhouses in that first group we had. And then you very quickly, I don't even think it was 2 years into it that you and who was it? It was Chris Blair, yes. And you guys spun off End Games, which is a whole different thing. It was like a whole sort of competition-based improv thing that turned into a school, and it turned into like a whole program.
Yeah.
And then
crazy.
and then you left. Then you left.
And I left. And I was like, bye, losers. No, everything. You introduced me to improv, and I just found it as a chubby, gay, closeted Korean kid growing up in a immigrant household, like, having fun and being silly or doing anything on stage was the most foreign thing to me. I never even thought it was something I could do. And when I was doing classes with you and Sammy, I think it just really unlocked something in me that like made me really, I don't know, maybe just start to like have fun with my life.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that were in those classes were not trying to be comedians or try to get into showbiz. A lot of them were, some of them were advertising people that their boss said,
I was in tech.
Yeah, their boss said, take an improv class, the idea that it'll kind of free your mind up and get you sort of creatively thinking. But I mean, you really kind of dove into it.
I went nuts. I dove into it. And after I took your class, I was working for Yahoo at that time, which at that time was a prominent internet Goliath. Yeah. And I was making an insane amount of money. And I was going to New York a lot to do like client stuff. And I would just like book 2 weeks in New York and like work from the New York office and then take intensives at UCB.
Oh, cool.
And I just remember thinking like, this is it. Like when I went to Chelsea, the theater at Chelsea that they had, there was a heartbeat to this space that I really like wanted. And I think what we kind of initiated with Frisco and the jams and all that. And really, we really try to build a community. And I think from there on, I was just really inspired from doing stuff with you guys and then going to UCB to really like have my own thing.
Yeah.
Where, we're doing this type of improv that we didn't really see in SF, or I didn't see in SF. And then that's kind of how Endgames came to be. Was I just went to every single improv show I could in San Francisco, and I was like, I like the way you're doing stuff. I like the way you're doing stuff. Like, let's all do like this one big like celebratory competition thing. It means nothing, but it'll be a chance for everyone to like see each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And and that rolled into us having our own show, and Games becoming a thing. And then, Mark, there was a point where we were like the hottest ticket in town at one point, and I just got really I spiraled into like this, like, what? I've been doing this for 2 years. What is this? This can't be it. You know, like imposter syndrome to the maximum.
Yeah.
You know, so I decided to go, hey guys, I want to do this for real. Like, I don't want to be Endgame's Improv's Peter Kim, you know, like, and no shade to Endgame's Improv, but I wanted to do it. I don't want to like be there and run a theater. That wasn't in my plan of plans. It happened, you know, it was a side effect of something I was doing, but it wasn't the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you went to
that's why I left.
Then you went to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I went to Chicago. Yes.
And you were with
I quit Yahoo.
You quit Yahoo? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like? So I mean, what was it ever sort of on your radar when you started? You know, you had this great job at Yahoo. Were you going, well, the comedy thing's okay, but it's like it's kind of a sideline thing? I mean, were your parents sort of like, what's this?
My mom was furious. She was like, what the fuck are you doing? You finally are making, you know, an amount of money where you're better off than we are now. You know, like it's this whole like, we came here from a war-torn country so that you can be better than us, you know? And she really did not understand why I was doing. She would come to like my improv shows and she doesn't understand English. So she would not understand what's going on, what the scenes were about, why we're running in front of each other. Like, she just like couldn't get it. And she was like, you're throwing away a stable career and a 401k to do yucks, you know, with these people. Like, what is this? You know, so, but I think I was like, I was mesmerized by the fact that I can create extemporaneously. And that really bit the creator in me, wanting to come out. And in Chicago, I quit Yahoo, and I had about like, I don't know, like $50,000 in my savings account. And I was like, all right, I'm going to like live on this for 5 years. In Chicago, I'll like intern and blah, blah. And lo and behold, it lasted a year and 2 months. And I had to get a job at 31 serving tables on my knees. It was a Japanese restaurant called Gyukaku. Yeah. And as a Korean person, this was a whole like mind fuck, you know, a generation before my ancestors are like turning around in their graves, that I was like serving people on my knees, but at a Japanese restaurant. Anyway, it's really complicated, but the money was good.
Wow.
And I had to do that. I had to like go back to zero from making so much money and feeling stable to being completely unstable and poor. And but there was something romantic about doing that in Chicago. You know, Chicago feels like a very like blue collar working class town, so it fit the brand of the city.
Yeah, so you got we're working with Second City, right?
Yes, I did all the like, you know, I got into the community, started doing shows and classes and stuff like that, and I got hired to tour with Second City, so I started touring for them, and then they asked me to do their resident stage. So do a review, write and perform a review on their ETC stage, did that. So yeah, it was my first time as a working comedian, you know, with an equity contract.
And you're on this storied stage.
This incredibly iconic American institution.
But you're also there when the slats kind of came out of the whole thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
And how much a part of that sort of were you part of, or did it just sort of come out from under you? And you,
I think it was brewing. You know, it's like anything socio-political. You know, like Second City was heralded in the 70s as the temple of satire. You know, and but you know, you do that long enough as one kind of demographic, and you start to try. I think it was kind of a precursor to what was going to happen in this country, kind of where like, you know, the demographics are changing, and you know, power is changing, and it was hard. It was hard for good people who thought they were doing good things,
right,
but ultimately not really listening.
Yeah,
you know, and you see that everywhere in every corporation. It's like diversity program, you know, we love it, but the intent behind diversity programs, there's always a like, oh God, we gotta do this thing, you know, like,
yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the core of why it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know, is that you're looking at it as a burden because you're diversifying.
But what was it like for you? Because here you are, you get to Chicago, you're kind of back to nothing, like you said, and then you kind of climb your way into this vehicle that's kind of ready-made for you and the talent, the skill set you've developed. And then all of a sudden this diversity, thing suddenly blows it. I mean, pretty much literally blew that program apart.
Yeah. You know, I think I can't really blame it all on the diversity, although it is a huge catalyst. I think at the end of the day, I'm sure you're hearing this too, like the arts has become commoditized and has become corporatized. So like you know, and Second City and the Temple of Satire is not immune to that, you know? So like, so I think what once started as a almost like punk rock, like fuck the man type of cool 60s, 70s beat type of, you know, beginnings have now turned into, you know, SNL's doing product placement. So it's like, that's the way of the world, you know? So like, I think that was happening on top of the diversification happening, like all wheels were coming apart, I think, in all of it.
Yeah. So there you are now with the sort of the ruins of this institution around you. And is that when you made the move to Los Angeles?
I stayed another year. I left Second City. It was the most depressing time of my life. And it really was like, I had my dream job and it became a complete, absolute waking nightmare. And I spent a year kind of figuring out, well, if this wasn't it, then what the fuck was I doing? And I got back into stand-up, back into that first thing I did before I met you, you know, and I really just started like writing a lot and writing a lot of doing a lot of storytelling, doing a lot of stand-up and doing a lot and writing a web series and writing a pilot. Like it's something like unlocked in me. And I just like, it was like a flood came out. And I think I spent so much time after meeting you, like pretending to be someone else on stage. And it was about time that I like faced myself and my story started like really coming out.
Is that when you started the Ajuma podcast?
That is actually, I started that podcast almost right after I left Second City, right around Trump's inauguration. I needed something.
we all needed something.
Yeah,
we all needed it.
Right.
And you started that. I'm sorry, your partner's name. I'm drawing a blank because I don't.
Unji Kim.
Yes.
No relation.
No relation.
No relation.
Yeah. But she was also in the improv world over there in Chicago.
She was in the improv world, stand-up world, and we circled each other like for years. And after Second City kind of, you know, it became like a denouement of my creative career, I met her in stand-up and I was like, oh, wait, we're so good together. We're so fun together. We should just sit down and like talk. And then we talked and we had a blast. And then we went to a Korean spot together and we had a blast. And we're like, you know what? We have to get on mics. And then we haven't stopped since February of 2017.
That's great. That's great. and it's a really fun podcast, and you get into some deep shit, which is interesting too. I mean,
thank you.
Because of your shared heritage, you guys have this sort of point of commonality, and yet I think you realize there are people listening that it's a foreign world to some of them. So you're sort of opening the door for people to learn more about Korean culture, and more importantly, I think Korean sensibilities.
Absolutely that. The coolest thing that's happened, I'm always very surprised by the fact that people listen to this, because it can't be fun for anyone, because it's a lot of us screaming and being dorky about something that only less than 1% of the population would know, so I'm always surprised when people listen. But the coolest thing that happened was this professor, I think at UPenn or Penn State, one of the Pennsylvania schools, said, hey, I sent this to my colleague in the Asian arts department, or Asian cultural studies department, or something like that. And he's starting to listen to this, and he thinks this is so incredible. And that and I was like, oh, really? Why? And he goes, we're going to start putting it into the curriculum, because it is a living log of Korean American first generation experience that doesn't exist anywhere.
Interesting.
There's no codified thing of this. So that really touched me. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
That's very cool. That's really great. That's really great.
Now I'm homework for other people.
Nice. Nice. So then at some point, when do you start transitioning into acting and start making a move back to the West Coast?
Well, I was acting on stage improvisationally, but I was doing that. And while I was doing all that Second City improv stuff, I was, doing commercials and, those small kind of TV roles, co-star roles that you go out for when you live in Chicago, like Chicago Fire and all the Chicago, Dick Wolf shows, and the small amounts of indie films that come to Chicago. So I was in that world of auditioning, and so I got enough TV credits to become SAG in Chicago, which is way cheaper than being Screen Actors Guild actor in Hollywood. I found out. Anyway, so I did that, and I co-wrote my own web series, so that I was acting in that, and just getting kind of my reel together so that I had something to show someone.
Sure.
What
was the web series?
It was called Queers.
Okay.
It's kind of like two broke gays meets Broad City.
Okay. How was that received?
Well, yeah, we a company approached us and asked us for content, and we pitched this thing, and they were like, "That's great, we'll throw money behind it." So they paid for the whole thing, and it got into the New York Television Festival, and we screened there, premiered there, and it was really
great.
Got a lot of nice fun meetings with Comedy Central and some other companies. So it was nice. It was cool. And then and then we came to LA 2017 in time to do this thing called the CBS Diversity Showcase. And it was a sketch showcase for diverse comedy actors.
Okay.
And it's designed to be shown to the industry right before pilot season starts. And they're like, here's all these people of color and queers that you could hire as well,
And did you write your own material for that, or were you put into somebody else's work?
Both.
Okay.
I was part of the cast, but we were allowed to bring in our own stuff, and so it was really fun to do. And then that led to a couple of cool opportunities. most of them of which I got cut out of. But
welcome to my world now.
Yeah, exactly. I feel your pain. But you get to list it as a credit, and it's
And then I remember I was you kind of, other than, I mean, I was aware of the podcast. Like I said, we featured it on Succotash, but you and I hadn't talked in a while. And then you got that part in
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes. God,
oh my God, I knew you were going to bring this up. The most painful thing. I was so excited. I thought, because I got to improvise with Larry David and John Hamm.
That's what you were telling me. You're going, this is great. I got to improvise with these guys and stuff. And then
it went so well. But sometimes you got to get shit down, and
it just gets on. Yeah, I mean, they, it's all the editing thing. It's not because they didn't like you or what was happening. It's just they're telling a story.
Exactly. Yeah,
and that's what.
And happens. Especially a show like that where it's like very loose and improvised. They overshoot so they can cut. So I get it, but it was hard to. Yeah, that was a hard one.
But the exposure to those guys is, that's where you're sort of you're sort of twofold. You're investing in, hey, these guys might remember me next time something comes up, but it's also like getting to see their process at work.
That's the coolest.
And I know you're very into that, which I mean, that's it's sort of like you're like a sponge and you like soak this stuff up every time you make a jump into something else. Yeah, and it's very clear to see in your, the stuff you put out, you go, wow, he's learned from that. Now he's learned from that. And to be able to see Larry David in action, someone like John Hamm, doing that stuff, it's got to pay off in ways that is, never anything that anybody would see except you. You're the only one that would really appreciate where that's going.
That's absolutely true. Like it was absolutely super cool to get to work with these guys and, talk to them between scenes and see how they work and, it's really cool to work with people better than you. That's all I ever want to do. You know what I mean? If I'm the most talented person on set, I'm doing something wrong.
Well, yeah, that's where the continuing education comes in, right? Otherwise, you're in the position of, oh, great, I guess people are now learning from me, and what am I going to tell these people?
Oh, no, I have nothing to give anyone. That's why I'm not going to have kids. I'm like, I have no wisdom to give, nothing.
Well, I doubt that's very true, but and then when I saw your tweet about Fairfax. So now you're moving into this other realm of voiceover, which is a totally kick-ass work in your sweatpants job. Which is so enviable. So how do you make that? How do you slide into that position? Where do they find you? How do you find out about this project?
Very good question. I have no idea. No, I had done a couple of voiceover stuff, tiny roles in a movie called Spies in Disguise, an animated thing.
Oh yeah.
What did I do? I forgot. There was one other thing, but like it was nothing of note. So there was no reason for them to be coming to look for me, but they were looking to cast this character, Benny Choi, and a Korean person, obviously. And they were looking, and I guess they couldn't find someone in the right person in the first round of casting. So I guess they ended up going out to their friends or whatever. And my managers heard of it, and they were like, "Hey, would you like to put yourself on tape for this thing? It's not a lot of money, but blah, blah, blah." And I was like, wait, it's the lead. What do you mean it's not a lot of money? It's like, well, it's, it's under this contract, blah, blah, blah. Things work out this way where you're signing on because this is going to be a cool project, not for the money. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm starting, and at that point I was like, it was right before pandemic where I was starving and I was like, maybe I have to go back to tech. Like, what am I doing? And
so you do it for exposure. Bobby Slayton always had this great line about how my manager wanted me to do this job because he says it's great exposure. And he says, what are you talking about? People fucking die of exposure.
Truly, it does feel like death by exposure living in Hollywood. But I didn't really understand like what that meant. And so they were like, you should put yourself on tape. So I did. And I remember it was late. It was a late tape. Like I forgot about it. I was doing a bunch of shows and getting drunk. So like that was a mess. And I remember the morning my manager's assistant texted me like, are you going to tape or not? And I was like, oh shit. And I went down and read through it and taped something, sent it in. A month later, did not hear. A month later, they're like, we'd like you to take a look at new sites for a callback. And I was like, okay. So I looked at the new sites and then sent it in. And then they, about like, again, I think another month or something, they asked me to come into the studio to Titmouse and do a studio test. So I came in and I guess they were testing like a handful of people. And I came in and I just like knew this character, you know, like I had a take on it that no one else had, I guess. And I just had so much fun with it, improvising, you know, just like going off script and having a great time in the studio. And, you know, in those sound studios, like audio booths, there's a sliver of window and you can see all the creators like dying and like falling off their chairs and like pointing at each other. And that I knew then, I was like, I don't know if I got this, but did it. I did. Like, it doesn't matter if I got it or not. Like, I killed it. And it was one of those things, like I left the room and they all shook my hand. They were like, this was so awesome. And I remember getting in the car and thinking like, I don't even want it. Like, like I want it, but like, I'm not attached to it in an ego way, you know, where it was like, you know, most times I think if I like kill the audition, I don't even think about it because I'm like, if you hire someone else, then you're not looking for me, you know,
right.
So it was very clear that like I had killed it and I didn't even think about it. And then they offered me the role. And then pandemic hit.
Yeah. Oh,
so
okay. So this was right before the pandemic.
We finished negotiations January.
Oh no! Oh my god!
And then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna have a kickoff call in February." So, and they were like, "Oh, should we all meet? I don't know. Like, let's just kick off on Zoom, but this will be over soon, right?"
Yeah,
and then. Yeah, the sun, you know, in summer it's gonna fucking burn up the virus, you know. So everybody was just had like crazy things, and it was apparent that we were not going to be able to do it in studio or with each other or do any table reads together. So they sent us these mobile booths.
No kidding.
It's like this box where you stick your head into and it's padded. So it's so fucking, and I was living in this like old apartment in North Hollywood where there was no central air. So there was like no air conditioning in this one room. Oh. And you know, people say like, oh, you know, they compare the worst thing to Vietnam. Like this felt like my own personal Vietnam. It was difficult.
Oh my God.
On top of pandemic, and leading a series. I had never led a series before. I had never done a table read where I didn't have more than 5 lines before this. You know, like I was doing guest stars and stuff like that.
And
so
now you're in isolation in a room by yourself.
Yeah.
You're the lead in the series.
But I knew we were going to be good because the first table read with everyone on Zoom, it was fire. It was like we couldn't stop laughing at each other and with each other. Like it was so fun. So I knew that, you know, we had a chemistry. There was something happening, although we never acted together.
That's hilarious.
Except for every table read. So we did all of season 1 in these mobile booths, and season 2 we got to go into studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's great. So season 1 is up now. Season 2 hasn't come out yet, right?
It has not. No.
And I think there's 16 episodes in season 1. I'm trying to remember.
8 in each.
Oh, 8. So okay, so that's what that was.
So
okay.
8 in season 1, and season 2. I think I just did ADR like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
A few weeks ago. So like they're like finishing everything now.
Well, I'll tell you that to me, the show was really funny. I watched it. I go, oh, I'm going to be talking to Peter. I should watch the show. So I watched the pilot and I go, God damn, this is actually really funny. And believe me, it is not aimed at my demographic. I'll tell you that right now.
No, not even mine. I'll tell you that.
But it didn't matter. It was like watching like Rick and Morty or something. It's got so many different flavors and layers and levels that it's like, even if you don't know what a couple of jokes are, you just wait another 2 seconds and there's going to be something else. So it's
jokes.
Very fast paced, a great supporting cast. You guys got some
great, oh my God,
great actors as supporting cast people.
I don't know how they did it. Like
JB Smoove as a pigeon.
Yeah, JB Smoove and John Leguizamo as the pigeons.
Yeah.
Pamela Adlon as the waitress. God, who else? So many good people. Ben Schwartz.
Yeah. And just for like one shot, they come in and they're just a guest star character. It was great.
If you watch episode 3, it's the one where they go to like an old folks home for their like volunteer credit. And we Henry Winkler, Garrett Morris, and Elliot Gould. Like we were doing table reads with these legends. Like it was crazy. So every table read I'd be reading with like some super famous person like Billy Porter. Like it was out of control, and I could not believe what I was doing, and it also struck me again, like, should I be here? Am I worthy of this? What does this mean? Like, am I gonna fuck this up? Like constantly.
Well, that's amazing. And so I know the series really has just kind of come out. So it's like, what kind of feedback have you gotten so far?
Such great feedback. Mostly from my friends, like my other comedian friends who are really liking it. And I think unfortunately, it doesn't have a wide demographic. It's not broadcast, it's very niche. Amazon Prime targeted at like coastal elite type of, it is, but I think at the center of it all, it's just for friends who are like trying to be a crew, so like I think it's everyone will like it for sure.
Yeah, no, it's great. And you come off really well in terms of voice talent.
Thanks.
It's not like, oh, they got this guy because, just some sort of quirky reason why we're going to hire him. Because you come across to me as really solid voice talent. There in the second episode, there's the challenge where you're trying to lose a lot of weight and you really do some funny shit with your voice, where you've become this emaciated version of the character. And for you to be able to make that swing and change and stuff, to me, it seems like the stuff that, because the one good thing about breaking into this voice arena, I think, is it can become a very self-sustaining part of business in terms of show business. And now you look at people that cross over constantly from doing episodic TV to doing voice work to doing, video games and stuff like that. And I got to think that people that are going to watch this show are going to be people that are going to go, oh, these are some new voices in voiceover we haven't used before. And they're always looking for that. So, I hope so. My fingers are crossed that,
me too.
Right people are going to hear what's going on.
Me too, Mark. Thank you. I would love to continue to work in my PJs.
And what does mom think at this point? What is mom saying?
Now she's cool with it. Now that she knows that I'm not like, desperately poor and destitute. She's like back on it now. And before, like an improv show, she can't really point to her friends and brag about. But like, being a voice on a cartoon, she could be like, look at what my son's doing. So it all comes down to like her status, like what she could gain out of this.
Does it ever reach her about the idea that you're doing what you want to be doing, or you're trying to be doing what you want to be doing? That doesn't matter.
I think yes. I give her a hard time. I think at the core, she is happy that I'm happy, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been great, Peter. Love catching up with you. Hoping to be in LA again soon. Now that sort of restrictions have lifted and we can kind of actually move around and go places. So I'd love to grab a meal with you when I'm in LA next time.
That sounds great.
Where can people? People can find the show Fairfax on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And where else can they find out about you? There's the Ajuma podcast.
Ajuma podcast on Spotify, iTunes, all the stuff. And you can follow me at Peter KZ on the socials.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, again, great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
And hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks once again to Peter for that chat. Be sure to check out his soundcast, The Ajuma Show, also Fairfax on Amazon Prime. It's really funny. Before I jet out of here, it's been a few weeks, so let's take a dip into the tweet sack. Hiya, Tweety. Miss me? I'll bet. Here's a rundown of the folks who've mentioned at Succotash Show in their social media streams recently. Misfit Scully, Fascination Street, Fly Anvil, The Talkin' Dicks, The Projection Booth Podcast, I Shake My Head with Lisa and Sam, SNL After Party, Judd Brewer, MD, PhD, Steve Finn, Salty Language Pod, The Jock Doc Podcast, Rick Overton, B-Movie Bry, Filthy Hippie in Pajamas, The D-Head Factor, Let's Chat Podcast, Travis Clark, and Ed Wallach. There then is your episode 278 of Succotash. Thanks to Peter Kim. We've got links to the show on the show blog at succotashshow.com. Thanks to Bill Heywatt, our announcer. And thanks most of all to you and your ears. Without you listening, we are nothing. Next week, Tyson Sainer will be back with a clutch of Soundcast clips for Epi278. So in the meantime, be as good as you can be under today's stressful conditions. Remember to take a deep breath every once in a while, like now. Get yourself vaxxed or boosted. Slap on a mask when you should. And remember, if anyone ever asks if you've heard anything good lately, won't you please remember to pass the Succotash?
You've been listening to Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, with your host, Marc Hershon. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and...
Imagine your company's name right here.
Rate us and review us at Apple and Google Podcasts. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube,
on SoundCloud,
and wherever fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Succotash Show. Like us on Facebook. Email us at marc@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Succotash is produced and engineered by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Marc Hershon and Tyson Sainer. Our musical director is
Scott Carvey.
Our booth assistant is
Kenny Durges.
Succotash is executive produced by Marc Hershon. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Heywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.